You're watching Building Real Estate Wealth Through Probate with Nate Arnold, that probate guy, helping you build generational wealth.
Welcome to the Probate Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm Robin Levin, your host and producer. And in this mini-series, we're going to be sitting down with Nate Arnold, also known as that probate guy. You'll soon find out why. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Real Estate Investing Through Probate with none other than that probate guy, and you will soon find out why. Welcome, Nate.
Hello, Robin. Great to be here.
Great to be here, too, with you. You have so much to tell us, and we're going to fill you in. For those of you watching, if you're an investor, experienced investor, or you're brand new to investing, you're going to learn a lot in our first episode. So let's find out why Nate is that probate guy. So Nate, take us back a little bit to about the age of 5 years old when you decided that you learned real estate could be in your future.
That was an exciting time. I grew up in Mobile, Alabama in the South. And I remember one warm summer Sunday. And it was the first time that I would ever meet my father's mother, my fraternal grandmother. Normally after church, I went to a Baptist church. Normally after church in the summertime, they would give the children a treat of ice cream. But this particular Sunday, my mom didn't let me get the ice cream. Instead, she told me that I was going to meet my grandmother. Now, this was really concerning to me because I loved chocolate ice cream. I did not get the ice cream, and she took me straight to my grandmother's house, whom I'd never met before. When I got there, I had never met my grandmother, and so I was a bit fearful, timid, as a timid kid. And she greeted me, and I hugged her kind of reluctantly. But she told me, she said, "Do you want a cone of chocolate ice cream?" And I wondered, how did she know that I liked chocolate ice cream? So she introduced me to my cousin, who was not really my cousin, but an adopted family member that she kept. And he said, his name was Rico. He said, "Let's go to the corner store. Let's go to the store and get some ice cream." And so I followed him hurriedly. And when we got to the store, the woman behind the counter seemed as if she knew me. And I put this all in my book, by the way, which is right here. And so we went to the corner store. And once we got there, the woman behind the counter was very, very friendly. And she seemed to know me, which, of course, I didn't know her. And she made this huge chocolate ice cream cone for me. And I was just amazed. And I had forgotten all of my fear at that point. And as we were walking away, it hit me that we didn't pay her. And so I asked my cousin Rico, well, she didn't ask for any money. And he said, "Dummy, that's because the store belongs to your grandmother." And so at that moment, I understood what ownership of real estate, even at 5 years old, what it could do for you. It brought you respect. It got you free things in the case of this, in the case for me, an ice cream cone. And so at that point, even though I could not articulate it, I understood that real estate, with it came power, came authority, and in many instances, just money.
That is such a beautiful story. I love that. And it stayed with you and made such a huge impression. Now, for those of you that haven't met Nate before, just a quick background. As you see that he got started thinking about real estate at age of 5, but he is actually a very accomplished real estate investor and entrepreneur with nearly 40 years of experience in real estate investing and wealth development. Inspired, as you heard, from his grandmother's influence, Nate built his career as the founder of IRA Real Estate, LLC, and author of practical guides, including The Best Real Estate Investing Method Ever. And as you will soon see, this brand new video podcast series all about wealth building with probate real estate. So Nate, yes, you are that probate guy. Now, let's just talk a little bit about what exactly is probate investing for those that are new.
Probate investing is simply the ability to transfer assets from a person who's died to the heirs, beneficiaries, or creditors. That's a process. So probate itself is a process that allows the estate to do those three things, to transfer those assets. And in many cases, those assets can be real estate, can be personal items such as boats or cars, jewelry, as well as money. So it's a very simple, straightforward process, and it's done in an administrative way.
Okay. And why do you feel that like experienced investors avoid probate investing or they go to agents rather than do it on their own?
Well, that's a good question, Robin, and it's a very straightforward one. What happens in probate? Most people, when they ever hear of a legal process, it makes them afraid. And so, because fear is one factor. I think the other thing is they think that probate is an elongated process. And sometimes it is, but not all of the time. And so, because of those two things, the legal process, the fear that that evokes, and the fact that they think it's an elongated process, most investors tend to shy away from probate. And in fact of the matter is, most agents also tend to shy away from it. And simply because they simply don't know the truth behind probate investing.
Now, you've helped simplify that in your ebook, which, by the way, you can download a copy of Nate's ebook. He's generously provided that for us today. But you
Right?
talk about the 4 R's of probate real estate investing. Could you just touch on that briefly?
Certainly, Robin. Probate can be broken down into four simple phases. And we did this to help people understand that it's not complicated. You simply have to understand each phase, and the four phases are, we named them the 4 R's. The first one phase is the research phase. That's where a person needs to locate the personal representatives or attorneys that are involved in a case. That's the research phase. And most of the information, in fact, the information is public record. So it's not difficult to find. And in most jurisdictions, it's right either in the newspapers or on the internet. The second phase is the reach out phase. That phase happens when you've actually gotten the information, you've made sure that it's correct, and then you begin to actually call and contact the personal representative or the attorney involved in the state. That's our second phase, the reach out phase. The third phase is the resolution phase. That's where you confront the problem and you get it resolved on behalf of the attorney or the personal representative. And that's where a lot of times people really get hung up and need additional experience, which is where we come in also. And the final phase is the reward phase, where you actually get paid, you get the person paid, and you move on to the next case. So 4 phases.
Okay, that's definitely helps simplify the process. Now, I understand that you bought one of your first properties at a young age, not 5, but maybe as a teenager or in your 20s, and you did actually go to the courthouse steps and you had to pay cash for the property, right?
Well, not exactly. I bought my first property. It was a condo, and it was the business that I was working from. In other words, I was an appraiser at the time, and I had a condominium in which I was doing my business from, and I actually bought that condominium. That was before I actually bought the house that my wife and I lived in. Now, that was a foreclosure, and I did buy that property at the auctions at the courthouse steps. So that was my first experience into investing. However, that was not a probate case. That was a foreclosure deal.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And is it true that your wife didn't like that house?
Oh man, that's the story of itself. No, she did not. It was a beautiful split foyer, 2 level, with almost a half an acre of land in Fort Washington, Maryland, and I fell in love with it. My wife, I took her by an all brick house. Took my wife by it, and she thought it was she couldn't stand it. She saw the oil heat container, and she said, "No, this is not for me." But I was smart, Robin. I went and got her mother and her sister. I picked them up, drove them to the house, and they fell in love with it. They convinced my wife that it was a great deal, and subsequently she changed her mind. And we lived in that house for about 15 years. My daughters grew up in that house.
Ah, that's a beautiful story. That's creative thinking. And I know that on some of these episodes, we are going to get into creative deal making, and that's going to be quite exciting. Yes. A quick picture here. This is a copy of Nate's ebook that you can download. That's a QR code, and it walks you again through the 4 R's of probate real estate investing. So whether you're brand new in investing or you're experienced, this will definitely help you. So I encourage you to grab a hold of that for sure. And today, and also subscribe to Nate's YouTube channel, where you'll also be first to get notified of the upcoming episodes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Now, you have been through your almost 40 years now at this. We have gone through several recessions, and so the economy goes up and down, as we all know. Do recessions affect this type of investing?
Recessions affect pretty much all investing, but in probate, it actually has a beneficial effect. I first really got into the strategy, the business behind probate in the Great Recession. And when most agents, Robin, and most investors were getting out of the business, I mean in droves, I pivoted and discovered probate. God opened the door for me. And as I got into probate, I soon learned that there's a psychology behind it. Most PRs in a down cycle are looking to just get rid of a property. Many of them do not have an emotional attachment to it, and their family may be badgering them to get rid of the property. And so I quickly learned that when most agents were getting out of the business, I closed at least one deal a month. And the case was I got both sides in most cases. And that was because probate properties tend to need work. And because they need work, they sell below market value.
So let me
And
ask you, when you say you got both sides, just explain that a little bit.
well, as an agent, there's the listing side. That's the person that actually finds the property, the agent, and puts it on the market. And then there's the selling side. That side is where another agent will bring in somebody into the deal transaction. And so I got that side, both sides, was added up to basically 6, and in some cases 7%. And so, I mean, that was in my market. That was about, on average, about 30,000, 25 to $30,000 per deal, because each property was at least, say, around $500,000 in DC at that time.
Right. So then you can absolutely make a good living at this, whether there's a recession or no recession. And I know later we're going to get into creative deal making on one of the other episodes, but that's just a really good example of how, even though things may not look so good, you are able to profit from it.
Exactly. Because the thing is, Robin, whatever economy you're in, people pass away. And
True.
probate is helping the families manage after the person is deceased.
Okay. Wow. So you're really helping in a lot of different ways, and especially helping guiding the family through this terrible time. You know, it's very emotional for them. And a lot of times they're confused and have no idea what to do with a property.
That's exactly right. And so it is really a great service. And a lot of people underestimate just how emotionally charged this time is for most families.
Yeah. Well, you're here to guide them. Now, let's talk about some of the common misconceptions or myths. I know you touched on some, but maybe you have could provide a client example.
One of the issues is that it takes a long time for probate to be consummated. And that's really a big myth that deters a lot of people from getting into the business. In some cases, we did mention that it can take time, but in other cases, people can be ready to sell within a couple of months, even if they are. And we've done those kind of cases where the family was able to sell very quickly, and we have been able to assist people through the process. A lot of times, because they are not aware of the paperwork that has to be done, they are fearful also. And so when they reach out to us, we can help them go through that information very quickly.
So, Nate, I can see that you've really built a lot here, and now you're passing this knowledge and experience to other generations. Tell us a little bit about the online academy that you created.
Well, great, great. The Probate Prosperity Academy is all online. It's a self-paced curriculum that involves both myself and other professionals to guide people through the 4 R's of probate investing. I'm there to actually assist them. It's only a 6-week training. You can learn probate investing rather quickly. And I've done it in that time frame successfully for many other people that I've trained. And so we put everything online. It's in our portal. We've got PDFs, we've got scripts, we've got you name it. Everything you need is in there. And a person has access to that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. It's all been recorded, pre-recorded. And on top of that, we do live sessions where I'm actually answering questions, doing live one-on-one instruction. And all of those things are engaged in the portal.
That's amazing. So, with your wealth of experience, you're really helping them accelerate their success by spoon feeding it to them and teaching them what to do and what not to do.
Exactly. They have the benefit of my 38 years in this business, Robin, and I've done it all. I've done commercial sales. I've sold, you name it, shopping centers. I've done residential sales, fix and flips. I've done wholesaling. I've done, you name it, and I've done it on apartment buildings. And so I'm going to be showing them how to understand, how to avoid the pitfalls and get started on the right foot. And part of that is going to be our guiding them through the process.
Right. Now, they don't need a license, or do they need a license?
No, you do not need a license. Let me repeat that. You do not need a license to invest in real estate. You simply need to have the right attitude and the right training. And we're here. If you supply the attitude, we give you the training you need.
I love that. Now, we are going to answer some questions that came in advance. And also, for those of you on the future episodes, if you have questions, definitely feel free to email Nate in advance and we'll get to those. So, today we have a couple that we're going to go through. And again, if you haven't subscribed to Nate's channel, go ahead and do so, because you will be the first when you hit the bell to get notified of his next episode. And it's really a 7 pilot series. So it's a mini series that we're creating here as a really solid foundation, introduction, and a little bit more, as you will soon see. So let's go to the first question. And here we go. Why is probate real estate investing such a great option for newbies?
That's a great question, Robin. Let me just kind of go back a little bit. When I first got into real estate, I wanted to be an investor. There were no schools, there were no mentors, so to speak. And you had to spend a lot of money. There were a lot of obstacles to entry. With probate, there are very few obstacles to entry. If you have a cell phone, if you have access to the internet, and if you have the right attitude, you can start investing in probate immediately. And let me say that again. Immediately. You just need someone to guide you in the process. And again, that's why we started this academy, to help people understand it's not difficult, Robin, to overcome the fear and just simply do it in this case. That's what I had to learn.
I think it's very exciting. And it's, as you say, it's a real differentiator, and it's not nearly as complicated as people might think. So to the next question. Do you have to use an attorney when you file for probate?
No, absolutely not. In most cases now, and I'm familiar with the DMV, District of Columbia, only about 20% of cases you actually have an attorney involved. And that is because of the case may be complicated. There may be siblings or heirs that are feuding, and so the court kind of has to intercede on behalf of that. But a full 80% of cases can be done without an attorney.
All right. The next one, what is wholesaling and why is it a good fit for probate investing?
Wholesaling is a process, and I'm glad you asked the question because it's really gotten a bad rap over the years. A lot of times, families may be, as we mentioned before, in disarray or what have you. So, wholesaling is where you can actually assist a family or you can gain control of a property by the contract. You can put a contract on the property and thereby gain control and then sell your interest in that contract to somebody who might be an end user, for example. It could be a contractor or a person who wants to live in the house. And in some cases, it may expedite the process because it can be a cash deal. So wholesaling is simply when you get a property under contract, okay, and then you sell your contract or your interest in your contract with the same terms to somebody else. All right, did that make sense?
Yes. Well, I'm curious why has it received a bad rap, as you say, or a little bit it could have received a bad rap?
Again, people just don't understand the process. And so because they don't understand Robin, they tend to be afraid of it or think something's wrong with it. And there's nothing, and it's 100% absolutely legal.
So they
Nothing.
don't feel like they're cheating the grieving person in this situation.
No, I had a case on Capitol Hill, on East Capitol Street, where the family did not want to get an agent or they didn't want to put it on the market. Now, whatever reasons they had, we agreed we would be able to help them. So we got the property under contract and then sold our contract to a foreign investor. Their attorney, Francis, asked us, was this all legal? We let her talk to the title company attorney. And once she was convinced, she told the family, no, it's all legal. And we went to closing in about several weeks. So it really depends. It really depends. It sometimes could be a great option for families.
Wow, that's great. Really good information. And now people see a lot of commercials where they say people are paying cash for houses. Are they competition to what you're talking about here?
Well, in my market, they don't seem to be a real competition. They are, most of the time, these companies are people that have cash and they do their advertising. So they get people who could be in foreclosure or other kinds of distress situations. Probate is something that most of them actually avoid, to be honest with you, unless they get a call, because probate again requires that you take the time to, connect with the PR or the attorney, and so no, it's not really a lot of competition from those sources.
Okay. Well, you're definitely opening our eyes to this, to these. Well, it's not new to you, but it's, I'm sure, new to a lot of people that are watching. And speaking of legal, this is one that you and I go way back on the IRA industry as far as real estate goes. Now, here's a peek into some of the upcoming episodes. And you'll see at the bottom right there, probate and your IRA. So Nate's going to do a whole episode just on that alone. But do touch on that about investing in real estate with your IRA.
That is it's a great opportunity. And there are many different ways to use your individual retirement account to invest in real estate. I myself have one and have done it on numerous occasions. It's a great way to actually utilize your money. You can self-direct your IRA. You can either do it with a checkbook or a custodian. And it's a great way to, you can also lend money to people who are renovating a property. So there are many different, you can actually purchase a property in your IRA. And we go into that into quite a bit more detail, as you mentioned, in the full episode. So it's a great opportunity for you to increase your wealth value using your IRA. And with real estate, you tend to get higher returns than, say, if you just put your money in a bank or was in a fund like that.
Very good. Yes. Well, I produced and hosted over 60 webinars for Pensko Trust Company when they were my client for many years. And we learned a lot of information on there and helped a lot of people as far as getting educated. And so that's a really great way to take a look at diversifying and looking at real estate in different ways and different sources of funding.
Right. Great opportunity.
Yes. So now let's, here's a look again to download the free ebook that Nate is offering. You just click the link in the description. You'll be able to download that immediately and get started learning more. It's pretty quick and to the point. And again, Nate also has a special offer for his academy. So for those of you that want to learn more and you want to get involved and you want to have the guidance of somebody like Nate, that probate guy, you will be soaring in your success because he's just going to give it to you what you need to know. Right, Nate?
Exactly. I encourage people, especially people, we are going through some difficult economic times. People have been furloughed. Some have lost jobs. Once you understand how you can invest in real estate using very little capital, but having the right attitude and the right guidance, you can make a definitive change in your life. I have trained people and have seen that numerous times. So I want to just encourage people, Robin, to take the step. It's not a leap, it's a step. I have done it in the Great Recession, and I'm telling my viewers right now, it's possible, and they can do it.
As you said, they just need the right attitude, and you lead them the rest of the way.
That's right.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for our first episode. This has been great, Nate, and thank you all for watching. We really appreciate your time and your interest. And do go ahead and download that and get in touch with Nate. And we look forward to having you on future episodes or having you participate on future episodes. So go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you so much.
All right. Y'all take care now. Bye-bye.
Subscribe and hit the bell for every episode. Then grab your free probate real estate investing ebook and join the Probate Prosperity Academy, where smart investors learn to create generational wealth through probate real estate. Thank you for watching. See you in our next episode.